Welcome back to the Dragon's Live, everybody. My name is Wade, and this is my show, Let's Talk, where we talk about Warhammer 40k. This is the second video in a series I'm making about Tyranids invading planets. So go ahead and check out the first video. It's called Tyranid Invasion, Step 1. So this is Step 2. So in Step 1 is Infiltration and Infestation. Step 2 is Invasion. So go ahead and check out the previous video. Let's get into it. So, picking up from the previous video, when the cults get to a certain size, the Gene Stealer cults, or the Lictors become powerful enough, they send out a psychic aura that can be sensed by the tendrils of the Hive Fleet out in space. And that's when the tendril senses it and it changes direction. The signal is meant to say, hey, there's suitable prey over here. There's something to eat. So, the tendrils start to be drawn to that. The swarm uses what's known as narval ships. They're massive ships. And what the narval does is it manipulates gravity, which manipulates space-time. I don't know a lot about physics, but I know that much. So what it actually creates is like a gravity well, and then the ships around it are sucked into that gravity well, and they're all pulled along, like a river pulls things along. It allows Tyranid ships to move close to the the speed of light. It's not quite the speed of light. But Imperial ships don't move at the speed of light, which is why they use the warp to travel around, and Tyranid ships can get close to the speed of light. Anyways, the big problem that this creates is from quite a distance off, these narvals creating these gravity wells causes quite a problem on the planets. You get natural disasters like earthquakes and tsunamis and tectonic plates. You get all sorts of volcanoes and weather. So that's the first thing that a planet has to deal with, is natural disasters really pick up, and you start to get lots of natural disasters regularly occurring. When the Hive Fleet arrives, when the ships start to arrive, the second thing, so natural disasters, the second thing that the planet has to deal with is what's known as the Shadow of the Warp. And it's this maddening field that follows Tyranids everywhere they go, and it's a part of why they're highly psychic. It's part of their defense mechanism from the warp, is it shuts down all psychic ability around them. They have psychic ability, but it shuts it down around them. So a big part of the population will just go crazy. They go mad. They can't stand it. They hear this thing. They feel this anxiety and this pressure, and they go loony. They kill themselves or each other, and it's very bad. It causes anxiety and panic. The second thing that it does is it basically fries the mind of all the psychers that are on the planet. So you start to lose things like astropaths can no longer communicate, and you can't effectively navigate space because you need psychers and other astropaths to do that. And so now you're trapped because you can't leave, and you can't call for help because nobody can hear you. And the swarm is already on your doorstep. So you've got all this bad stuff going on. The next thing that happens is the fleet releases spores down to the planet. These spores are filled with parasites and symbiotes. They're released by the trillions. They start to poison the air. They start to get into plants and animals, and they change the plants and the animals to make them like Tyranid versions that become hostile. So now you have to fight cows, and you have to fight crows and birds and insects. You got to fight everything, because now the planet is actually turning on you. The temperature rapidly starts to rise. It makes the planet more suitable to be consumed and a better environment. So they're like terraforming the planet, and they do it by infecting the plants and the animals with these parasites and all sorts of spores in the beginning. The next stage is more spores are released, and these spores, some of them are filled with deadly poisons, some of them are filled with digestive acids, and some of them are like bombs. So mix all those things together, they start to attack defensive positions, they start to attack cities. Tyranids don't care. They don't have morals, they don't have ethics, they don't just fight combatants, they attack civilians, they attack everybody all at once. The next stage is where some of the warrior organisms start to become involved, but they just show up to get things kicked off. So they'll land out away from defenses, and then they start to move in and they start to herd prey into kill zones where the Tyranids are actually going to attack and move people into these places where they can get the maximum amount of damage done. While those ground forces are moving in, and you're talking like Ripper swarms and gaunts and stuff like that during that phase, but while these swarms are moving in at the same time, the flying organisms are coming down. So you have your gargoyles, your harpies, your crones, your massive harridans, and the flying forces are converging with the ground forces at the same time, and they're providing two different benefits. One, look at us, there's trillions of us, you got to shoot at us, you got to deal with us, you have to defend yourself from us. So they're a distraction while the ground forces are getting closer right up in your face because you got to shoot one or the other. And then the next thing is they actually become like living bombs. So gargoyles will dive down the barrels of anti-ship cannons that are shooting the ships in space. They'll try to gum up the works. They'll get in everything. Gaunts will get in everything and try to make machines stop working. They'll sacrifice their bodies. So they become bombs as well as the living weapons that they already are for being a Tyranid. So you have to fight all those things simultaneously. The sky forces and the ground forces at this stage are so numerous that the things in the sky blot out the sun, and the things on the ground just fill up the entirety of the landscape. We're talking millions upon millions of organisms descending all at once, all with the same idea of where to go and what to do and how to do it. If all this wasn't bad enough, right when they arrive, that's when the lictors really kick into sabotage mode, and that's the moment that the cult turns on everybody. Politicians rebel, generals surrender, factions start, and infighting starts. So if you thought you had like a fighting force of 10,000 guys, and now you only have like 7,000 guys because 3,000 was the cult, and now you're all disorganized because that general surrendered, or these guys are not fighting those guys, or those guys are not talking, or they fled, or they went underground, or all sorts of problems for the defenders of the world. So now you're fighting the ground organisms, you're fighting the cults, you're fighting the flying guys, you're fighting all of those millions of things all at once. And if that wasn't bad enough, that's when the monsters get involved. So you start to get your carnifexes, you start to get your exocrines, your horusfexes, you start to get the 5 different types of carnifexes, the screamer killers, the thornbacks, the decafexes. Decafex is not an official term, I know that. But so the small little guys are making you waste your ammunition and use your bombs and your guns and everything that you got. Because when you run out of this, then you have to use the melted guns. And when you run out of that, you have to use the autocannons. And then now you're out of ammo, or you need a resupply, or you need to reload, and now the Carnifex is in your face, and you needed the melted gun ammo, and you get where I'm going with this. They overwhelm you, and they do it in stages that are intentionally planned to make the situation progressively worse as everything keeps on going. They are just forming wave after wave after wave of living murder machines that are trying to get into your face. And that is what the invasion stage is all about. Gene stealers will come up from underground. You got trigons that are burrowing into defensive locations and bunkers and breaking into them. You have your Norn emissaries that are completing mission objectives and toppling fortresses and killing epic heroes. And then all of the mix in that, you have your Hive Tyrants directing it, where to go, how to go, what to do. All the while, no one can come and help you, and you can't escape. This is episode 2, so this is Invasion. Like I said, go ahead and check out episode 1. It's Infestation and Infiltration. I'm having a great time making this series for you guys. There's going to be one more episode in this series, and I believe I'm going to call it Consumption. But I love Tyranids. I think Tyranids are really cool. Go ahead and leave a note in the comments about what your favorite part of this whole process is. And I look forward to seeing you again for episode 3 in this small little series, and Let's Talk Consumption. We here at the Dragon's Lair understand that you can spend your time anywhere on the internet, so I want to say thank you for spending your time here with us at the Dragon's Lair.